Today we're going to be siding a house. You need to already have all the preliminary prep done, like the tie back and the tape over the windows. We're going to use PVC trim over the windows and wood trim on the top near the gutter. You will need some tools like saws to cut your siding and trim. First, we're going to measure out the windows using the PVC trim. The PVC trim is much more expensive, but it lasts a very long time and it looks so much nicer. You can cut the corners at an angle. You can prepare the windows. Sometimes the windows have a little bit of a plastic edge that don't let you put things well in there. Then you just nail it in. Don't worry about the nail holes. We're going to take care of that with caulk. Everything should fit nice and tight in there. It helps to have one of these air guns. And now cut the top part. We're going to fit the wood trim onto the top near the gutter. This is actually going to hold the gutter, but you still need to make it really nice underneath. Then just nail it in. With the trim in place, it's time to start working on the siding. The first thing you need for the siding is the starter strip, and that's going to go at the bottom. We're going to work our way up. Nail in the starter strip, make sure it's level, use a level to make sure that it's nice and straight. And then we're going to work on the corners. If you have corners in your house, you're going to need cornering like this. This is an inside corner, and we are cutting it so it fits over the existing shape of the house. And now it fits much nicer in there. And now just nail it in. Every 12 inches or so, nail in a nail. And I'm using roofing nails. This is the outside corner. Measure it out, cut it, and then use a level to make sure that it's nice and level, and nail it in. And I would check my level again. You don't want these corners to be off and then your siding is going to be off. You want it to be perfectly flat. Now we're going to install the first panel of siding. Use a long strip, and it locks onto the bottom of the starter strip. The key to nailing the siding is that you don't want to make it too tight, because as the house expands and moves around, it goes left and right, and you want a little bit of play in the siding. So when you hammer these nails in, don't put them very tight. You want them just to be a little bit loose, that way they can move freely. Now cut another strip, and this is how we're pretty much going to be doing the entire house. Cutting, measuring, cutting, nailing. But the main key is not hammering it very much in, and every 12 inches or so, put a nail in using roofing nails. Just measure out your siding, and then cut it. Cut it really slowly using the saw, and you're going to get some really nice clean cuts instead of very rough cuts. So just put that siding, start at the bottom, and then it'll lock. You'll feel it lock. And by the way, we're using old siding that I got from another house, and it still looks fine because we're going to be painting it. And then you can cut these little latches so it fits a little bit nicer. Cut it really slow. If you cut it too fast, you're going to have a rough siding, and it will look much worse when you put it in the house. When you start to get towards the windows or anything with angles, you're going to have to do a lot of measuring. So we need to install the nailing flanges around the windows, and you can cut them straight or you can cut them diagonally like the way I have them here. And then if you cut it diagonally, it looks much nicer, but you don't need to. I think it's just a much better way of doing it. It looks a little bit better. And you can use these shears to kind of cut and make your cuts. And put it in there, nail it well in there, make sure that it's still moving okay. The top nail needs to be up against the plastic. The other nails have to be in the middle of the slots. Now we're going to be cutting a whole sheet of siding to go around the window. You notice that on that right portion there are no nailing flanges, but that's okay because we're going to butt it right up against the window and it's going to go on top there, so it's not going to show. And there it is. You just nail it in there and we have the first piece around the window. Now we're going to be putting a strip angled going up near the gutter line, and it's going to be a lot more time consuming once you get to the top. It helps to have scaffolding, and scaffolding makes it much safer, so if you can get some, go ahead and get it. Now nail it in. We did cut it using shears and it takes some time to get it all worked out. The gutter has to be moved just a little bit, but that's simple. And there is the entire left side done. And now we're ready to tackle the rear side of the house. You might not need to do this in your house, but because the patio is actually a little bit further up, water could go kind of high and touch the wood. So we're going to put this water membrane at the very bottom. It's just a good feature to have, but most people don't need it. At this point, we're just repeating what we did in the left side. We're cutting the nailing strips for the windows, making sure that everything is nicely angled, and then we're going to start putting the siding. It's a lot of cutting, it's time consuming, and it gets more time consuming when it gets to the window. But with the right tools and with a lot of patience, you can make this job effective. And this would cost a lot of money to do. It's a very time consuming process and it requires a lot of patience. But once you get past the windows, it can be very easy. This saw definitely is a great thing to have because you can cut the siding and put it around the top of the doors and windows, and it makes it so much easier, and they're very inexpensive. As you get to the top of the house, the siding, in order to avoid seeing that hole where the siding and the board meets, we're going to put this molding in there, and that's going to hide it a lot better. Of course, all of these holes will have to be prepared with some caulking, and then afterwards all you have to do is paint the siding. There's only one other side to the house. This is going to be the easy side because there's very little to it, and there's two windows. We're not going to put siding in between the two windows there, mainly because you can just get away with like a piece of PVC wood in there and then it's going to hide it. So that's pretty much how you side the house. It's not as intimidating as it looks. It just requires you to be slow and steady and get through the job. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.